Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 28th of August, 2025, and as always, holding the legacy media's feet to the fire. Oh, man, the gaslighting, the lying, the propagandizing, the twisting. Oh, guess what, campers? You won't be trusted anymore. No, you won't be trusted anymore, and that's why people are getting their information now from all of the social media outlets. Yeah, that's they're going to Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever, and that's where people are getting their information from. And also alternative broadcasts such as this one. Anyway, welcome to the Thursday edition of the WTF Reports. Yes, I'm here with the audio receipts. I'm here with the facts, WTF. And if those facts make you exclaim, WTF, well then so be it. That's the whole point. Anyway, this broadcast is being brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. And if you haven't heard about it, well, you need to, because it's technology that was, of course, discovered by Tesla and refined by Royal Raymond Rife. And that's why there are Rife machines out there, all having to do with frequency. Tesla said frequency is everything, and Rife figured out how to utilize those frequencies to help cells prosper and thrive. He also found certain frequencies will destroy pathogens like viruses and bacteria, etc., etc. So do some research on Rife machines, and then check out the Wave Watch. It's a Rife machine you wear on your wrist. Pretty cool stuff. So check it out at our website, TheWTFReports.com, and go down to the sponsors page and check out the Wave Watch. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, we broadcast live from 2 until 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 11 a.m. to 12 noon Pacific. And, of course, you can do the math for the middle time zones. So I'm in the mountain time here, so it's just after 12 noon, and which means if you're listening during those times, this is live, and that means you can call in. And the phone number here, if you'd like to do so, is 215-867-8255. Okay, getting into the news at hand, I've got a bunch of different topics I want to talk about. And, of course, the horrendous attack on the church and killing, 2 children and injuring so many other people. I mean, this is just horrendous, and it's going on over and over again. And, the perpetrator, unfortunately, took his own life or her own life. See, the problem is this guy was changed his name from Robert to Robin. Yeah, another transgender. And there have been so many of these transgender people suffering from gender dysphoria, and there have been many of them involved in the recent school shootings and massacres. And people have got to take a look at what is going on. And Marjorie Taylor Greene addressed this, and I figured we'll start off with this particular issue because this is so important. People have to understand that these people that are going through the transition, if you will, if they're on puberty blockers or some kind of medication, this is screwing with their brains. It's just like the SSRI drugs that yours truly was screaming about years ago. And unfortunately, it makes these people go a little bit crazy. But anyway, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She made a statement in this horrendous situation. And she also had a suggestion that is a no-brainer, something that yours truly has been screaming about for over 20 years. Anyway, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Give her a listen.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I would just want to say my prayers are completely with the families and the victims at the Annunciation Catholic School shooting in Minnesota. This is a horrific murder and tragedy, and it should never happen. And on that note, I just want to talk for a minute about why it should never happen in America. As a member of Congress, I enjoy a very special privilege when I'm at the Capitol and the Capitol complex and where my office is. I am completely protected by taxpayer-funded armed guards, and they have guns. And their job and their duty, the Capitol Police, is to protect our buildings, all of the people that work in the buildings, all of the staff in the Capitol and our congressional office building, and myself, a member of Congress, along with all the other members of Congress, whether they're Republican or Democrat, and just everyone there, and visitors, of course, people that are visiting the Capitol. And this is an incredible privilege that I have. But I can also tell you, I know what it's like to be a student in a school where another student brought guns to school and was planning on killing people, because that happened in my high school at the very beginning of my 11th grade school year. And this is all the way back in 1990. And it happened because our schools became gun-free school zones, and that was thanks to a former Senator, Joe Biden. And it was a big push in Washington, D.C. to make school zones gun-free. Well, fast forward over the decades, and our gun-free school zones have produced nothing but mass killings as our children and faculty have been sitting ducks. And this is why they prey on schools, because they know that they can quickly and easily kill the most innocent and vulnerable Americans to make their statement, and whatever their statement may be. And it's sick and it's disgusting and it's unforgivable that it is allowed to continue. And here's what I'm going to say today about this. Congress can fix it. Congress caused the problem years ago by making schools gun-free school zones, and Congress can fix the problem by undoing this law and making and allowing guns to be used as protection of our most innocent and vulnerable Americans, our children, our most precious resource. That's what our kids are, our most precious and loved and prized resource. And I'll go a step further. Okay, Marjorie, how are we going to pay for this? Let me tell you how we can pay for it. We can actually put America first. We can put our children first and stop funding foreign wars and foreign aid, and use that money that is going to foreign countries. That money should be used to protect our children the same way members of Congress are protected with armed guards at the Capitol. And that is exactly the right and responsible thing to do.
Absolutely it is. Now, these school shootings have been going on for, 25, 30 years. Remember Columbine? I think that was the first really big publicized school shooting. That goes back many different years. Now, stop and think about it. We have armed guards who protect, as she was saying, the Capitol building. So all of your elected representatives in the Senate and the Congress and around all the Capitol buildings, they've all got security. They got metal detectors and they have armed guards to protect them. And then also, you've got armed guards at the bank to protect the money, okay? You've got security in some of these major corporation headquarters, and they're protecting their offices with guns. We have all of these institutions that are protected with guns. However, your kids, no, they don't need any protection. No, they don't need that. What if, think about it. What if they were to say, okay, all you veterans out there, after you've served your tour of duty and you've come back and you've been discharged, what if you were to employ some of these veterans who are very well trained? What if you were to say, okay, we're going to hire 2 veterans for every school across this country? Put them on salary. What is wrong with that? Why shouldn't we do that? We got plenty of money to send over to Israel and all over the world. USAID, that has been sending billions of dollars overseas. And what is it? Israel gets $3.8 billion a year. On top of that, we send them bombs and guns and all of the military equipment to commit a genocide over there. So why can't we invest in our children? Now, it was Hillary Clinton who said long time ago, children are our most precious resource. I think she meant that in a different way. Adrenochrome. Yeah, right. But the point is that the children are our most precious resource. They are the future of this country, and we should be protecting them. And we should, why not hire veterans to protect the school children? Makes too much sense, right? So I just wanted to point that out, and I've been screaming about that for a long time. And as a matter of fact, Ariana Masters, she is a social influencer. She usually carries, she has a program where she analyzes all the radar data around the country, and she tracks all of the weather anomalies, shall we say. But she also bellied up to the bar in regard to this issue about guns. Listen to what Ariana Masters had to say.
This is freaking huge. Armed citizens stopped 48% of all criminal shooters last year, and the FBI was just caught massively lying about those numbers in their public reports. They recorded, get this, none of them. 0%. Now, you and I and everyone else have seen those local heroes on social media, but rarely do we ever see these stories in mainstream media. Well, the script is about to flip because a new study by the Crime Prevention Research Center reveals that armed civilians stopped over 1/3 of active criminal shooters between 2014 and 2024, nearly 10 times higher than FBI's reported 3.7% average. And again, with even more Americans getting armed post-2020, just last year alone in 2024, civilians stopped half of all criminal shooters. Yet, as I just stated, the FBI recorded 0 of them. You might be asking, how is this possible? Well, while digging for the study, researchers found that police were often falsely credited instead of the armed civilian, which is a recording pattern that clearly increased over the last 10 years. Now, this begs the question, why would they work so hard to hide the significant benefits of an armed public?
Yeah, why do you suppose they would hide that? Why do you suppose that they would change the narrative? Well, that's because it doesn't fit their narrative. They don't want people to know that an armed citizenry makes the citizenry safer. You know, about a month ago, some of you may recall, there was a guy that was wielding a knife. I think it was at Target. He was at a Target store, and he stabbed a couple of people. And the way he got stopped is there was an armed citizen that took out his firearm and stopped this guy. Now, there was another guy who had a shopping cart, apparently, and he took the shopping cart and rammed it into the guy and knocked him to the ground. Now, I remember seeing the video about this. You know, you could see this guy with a gun, and then with a knife or machete or whatever. And then this guy took out his firearm and held this guy at bay. And then another guy with the shopping cart came and rammed the perpetrator. Now, the interesting thing about this is that they did carry this on, I saw it on NBC News, but they didn't tell you that there was an armed citizen that stopped this. No, they interviewed the guy with the shopping cart. They don't want you to know that an armed citizenry can stop crime. And that's what Ariana Masters was just pointing out. This goes against their narrative. They don't want the citizenry to be armed. Now, why? Well, that's a real head scratcher. I'm sure we all know why. But the bottom line here is an armed citizenry makes the citizens safer. And we should really consider, yes, hiring some veterans, get maybe 2 veterans per school. Now, I realize there's thousands of schools around the country. I'm sure that if they can afford to send billions of dollars over to overseas to other countries, and again, I mean, they send what, $3.8 billion a year over to Israel? Is that what it is? Something like that. Somebody showed a statistic that since 1948, there's been 300 and something billion dollars sent to Israel. So if we got all this money to send overseas, we certainly can afford to put a couple of veterans on the payroll for each school and keep these kids safe. So anyway, we got a caller coming in. Let's see. Let's go to the phones. Who's there and where are you calling from? Welcome, caller.
Hey, it's Cynthia from California.
Hey, Cynthia.
I think I hear you describing what in effect would be a militia.
Oh, you can't say that. No, a militia?
I'm saying it. hell, when I used to travel across country in the middle of the night to do my emergency room gigs, I carried a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
No two-legged varmint was going to harass me if I had a blowout on my truck tire.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I got my concealed carry many years ago. So yeah, and I think that everybody should be well trained and know how to use a firearm, because a lot of people are scared of guns because they don't know. They don't know how they work or anything like that. So, and I got to tell you, I was one of the bleeding heart liberals many years ago who was right on in line with getting rid of all the guns, especially right after John Lennon was assassinated. There was a full-page ad in the New York Times with all of these names of rock stars and movie stars and stuff, and they all said, get rid of the guns, grab them all, melt them down, get rid of them. And then I saw a bumper sticker, and it said, those who beat their guns into plows will plow for those who didn't. And I think that was Thomas Jefferson that said that.
Well, under the constitutional rules, the federal government is supposed to be funding the militia, but the militia is supposed to be run by the county and by the state. So they can only call out the militia for cases of rebellion or invasion, and they can't take them across international lines.
Mm-hmm. Well, the militia, according to John Adams, when he was asked, what is the militia? And his response was, I tell you, sir, the militia is the whole of the people. It's not the National Guard. That's what everybody wants you to think. It's the National Guard. No, it's not the National Guard. It's the citizenry. That's simple as that.
The problem with a National Guard is that they've selected people, and the concern could be that they could have selected Christian Zionists.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want people who don't put Americans first.
Oh, I'm glad that you said that.
I know. I can say things that you can't say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I call in and do it.
Well, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. So, hey, what do you think about the idea of hiring veterans, armed veterans, and having one or two people to protect the schools?
I think that the veterans actually deserve land also.
Okay, well, the issue here is not the land. The issue here is protecting our children, okay? That's the issue. So, and a lot of these veterans are flapping in the breeze. They come back, and they're struggling to find work just like everybody else. And these guys are well-trained. They've served in the military. They know how to handle a firearm. So
they used to have preference in hiring at the post office for veterans, didn't they?
I think you're right about that. I'm not sure, but that sounds right.
I'm wondering if they still do.
I don't know. But the issue here is the kids, is the schools. We've got all these school shootings, and like I said a couple of minutes ago, if you look at the past several years of school shootings, overwhelmingly, the individuals that were perpetrators are somehow involved in transgenderism. And you think about that, a lot of these transgenders, they're on puberty blockers and they're on other medications that makes them go a little goofy.
I have one caveat to add, which is that if they are pre-adolescent children,
mm-hmm.
then the people need to be screened for pedophilia tendencies.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these parents, I don't know, I think it's child abuse, bringing their kids in, they're, in 11 or 12 years old and trying to convince them that they're in the wrong body. I mean, these kids are being confused beyond our imagination, and they're being convinced that they are in the wrong body. I mean, this is just...
It's the chemicals. It's the chemicals they put into our environment.
Yeah, I've been screaming about that for 30 years, too. I mean... Alex Jones was right when he said they're turning the frogs gay. I covered that back in 1995 when I was at WATR AM 1320 in Waterbury, Connecticut. I did a show about the prions that leach from the plastics into the food, bisphenol A, and atrazine. And these are disrupting the hormonal balance in human beings. And I asked the question back in 1995, 30 flaming years ago, if we don't get this stuff out of our food and our environment, what's going to happen a generation or two down the road? And now we see it. We see gender dysphoria all over the place. And this fits right into the globalist agenda because they want to lower the population, and we know that gay people don't have kids. So, I mean, this is why they promote this. They didn't do anything to stop it. So, anyway.
It's not going to be criminal intent.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's a lot of criminal intent. A lot of information, as a matter of fact, has been coming out about these vaccines. I'll be covering that shortly, too. So, anyway, Cynthia, thank you. Thank you for the call. I always appreciate your participation. So, I'm going to move. All right, you take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's see here. In a semi-related issue here, we were talking about the, the gun shootings and the fact that people are not safe. Well, guess what? Mayor Bowser in Washington, D.C., of course, she has been a very, shall we say, an opponent of Donald Trump. I mean, she and Nancy Pelosi were involved in the, shall we say, the January 6th issue. You know, Trump wanted to get the National Guard in there, but Mayor Bowser and Nancy Pelosi blocked that. Of course, now Nancy Pelosi has done a 180, and she's saying, we tried to get the National Guard in there, but Trump wouldn't do it. No, she's lying. It was the opposite. So now Mayor Bowser has changed her tune. Because all of a sudden, since Trump sent all of these, FBI to join with the police force, and he's got National Guard in there, what's happened in D.C.? Well, let's let Mayor Bowser tell you what happened in D.C.
Carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer.
Yeah. And that's because it's gone down. The crime has gone down. Now, there's something else that's going on in D.C. right now. And, first, I'm going to visit with Tulsi Gabbard. Of course, there was a big cabinet meeting, and there's this issue about the burn bags. They found all this evidence about the 2020 election. Oh, my goodness. There's going to be hell to pay and heads will roll. Listen to what Tulsi Gabbard divulged in the press conference.
Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated.
Yep. They've got the burn bags. They found all this evidence. And of course, it implicates not just President Obama, not just James Clapper and Susan Rice. I mean, the whole crew, everybody was involved with this. And again, as Tulsi Gabbard pointed out, this is not a liberal versus conservative issue. This is not, Democrat versus Republican or blue versus red. This is about having our republic survive and about a coup that was, in the process. And it goes on and on. As a matter of fact, so now all the evidence is starting to come out. And we're talking about high treason, folks. This is not just some, minor crime. These are crimes against the entire country. It's got nothing to do with partisan politics. And I must tell you that there is a report that's going around, and I forget who this woman's name is, but she posted this, and I hope this is true. Listen to this one.
Do you know what's not being talked about today? The Defense Department has given the U.S. District Attorney of D.C. 20 judge advocate generals. That's JAG.
Whoa! The JAG officers are coming in.
Military lawyers.
Yes, tribunals.
To help with the prosecutions in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but it's a fabulous day. Because if you know, well, then you know.
Well, we've been talking about this for some time. The only way that we can straighten this out, because we know that all of our institutions are corrupt. I don't care if you're, like I said, if you're left or right or conservative or liberal or red or blue or Republican or Democrat, the corruption is everywhere. And we cannot rely on our judicial systems to fix the problem, because they're corrupt as well. So there is no other way, the way I see it, and a lot of other people see it the same way. There is no other way than involving the military. And nobody wants to see a military takeover or a coup or a shutdown or anything like that. But things are so screwed up, I just don't see any other way. I really don't. Anyway, going to take a quick break. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page, and there's a window there where you can click on it. It'll take you to the Get More Tank website. You can read about the specifications and details, how the stuff works, why it works. It's not a fuel additive. It's a fuel catalyst. Big difference. Your engine runs smoother, cooler, cleans itself out, which is good for the environment. You get more power, and after a couple of tanks, you'll start to see the mileage increase. And you can get anywhere between 15 to 20% increased mileage depending upon your make, model, and year of the vehicle that you're driving and your driving habits. So the point is that if you buy the Get More Tank, you get 5 tablets, 1 tablet per tank of gas. And that means if you're getting 20% better mileage, the 5th tank is free. Do the math. You spend $20, save a tank of gas with 1 purchase. This is a no-brainer. You really should be trying this stuff out, especially if you're a greenie. You want to clean the environment, then make your vehicle run more efficiently. You're going to save money, which is saving the environment. It's running cleaner, which is saving the environment. There's no reason not to be using Get More Tank. So please visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on Get More Tank and start using this stuff. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, that said, going back to revisit this issue about the school shootings and the people who are the perpetrators of this, the mental illness that they're having. Now, years ago, when this whole thing started happening, back when I was doing the Power Hour with Joyce, we used to have the author of the book. It was Prozac, Panacea or Pandora, Pandora's Box. Okay, Anne Blake Tracy, who I had as a guest on a month or so ago, she has been screaming from the rooftops about these SSRI psycho drugs. And, of course, some of these puberty blockers and stuff like that, they screw with your brain as well. And I did a song years ago about the drugs that were being given to our kids, and I wanted to share it with you because it applies. I mean, I wrote this song 20 years ago, folks. 20 years ago. And give it a listen.
Well, Sam's a little hyper. He wiggles in his seat. He doesn't tuck his shirt in. He isn't very neat. He speaks out in the classroom. He runs from here to there. When it's brought to his attention, it's like he doesn't care. So what could be the problem? Why can't he get it right? The teacher's at her wit's end. No solution is in sight. For breakfast he has Pop-Tarts and a bowl of Cap'n Crunch. He drinks a glass of chocolate milk. He has ice cream bars for lunch. At home he watches TV, Nintendo games galore. And he never puts his stuff away, and he never shuts the door. His mother got a phone call from the counselor at school. Said, we've got a pharmaceutical, it's a new effective tool. Let's drug him down. Let's drug him down. Yeah, we can turn him around. Let's drug him down. Give him Zoloft, give him Bus Bar, Ativan, and Prozac too, or any other drug that'll do the things they do. At first it seemed to work because the symptoms went away, but soon he seemed depressed and he'd argue every day. His mom became concerned and she took him off that med, and then something went awry and something snapped inside his head. He started getting violent. Every day there'd be a fight. Then his mother finally realized that something wasn't right. Then Sammy got a raincoat and some dark sunglasses too. He didn't tell his parents where he went or what he'd do. The other kids at school were afraid when he's around. Then one day police were called because some stuff was going down. Sammy thought he had to injure, Sammy thought he had to kill, but they never told you on the news he was on some pharma pill. They drugged him down. Yeah, they drugged him down. They tried to turn him around. Yeah, they drugged him down. Gave him Zoloft, gave him Bus Bar, Ativan, and Prozac too, or any other drug that'll do the things they do. Yeah! Programs were started to keep drugs out of the school, but the pharma manufacturers are exempt from any rules. They're rigging in the dollars, making billions every year. They only want your money, they don't care about your tears. Almost every single killing that you're hearing on the news has a psycho drug connection, but they're keeping that from you. Let's bring them down. Yeah, let's bring them down. We'll sue them right in the ground. Yeah, let's bring them down. Hey, Eli, Lilly, GD, Cyril, Bristol Myers, and Bayer too. GlaxoSmithKline, Squibb, and Pfizer, sucking money out of you. Let's bring them down. Yeah, let's bring them down. Let's sue them right in the ground. Yeah, let's bring them down. bunch of leeches sucking money out of you. Let's bring them down. Let's bring them down.
Yeah, let's bring them down. Big Pharma's got to go. Because they don't care about your health, they care about their profits. And you know, if they can create a lifetime customer, then that's what they're going to do. It's not about your health. And again, this applies to all of these transgender surgeries, because every time they transition a kid, they have a lifelong customer. They're going to be on drugs for the rest of their lives. And it screws up with the brain and also screws up the health. As a matter of fact, there's a doctor, Dr. Paul Masters. He was being interviewed by Del Bigtree, who has been very vocal about the hokey pokey thingy dingy, and the stats are starting to come in now. Well, no, that's not what I want here. Get rid of this. Okay, here we go. Here it is. Dr. Paul Masters, interviewed by Del Bigtree. He started compiling all the data from the children who were vaccinated versus the children who were not vaccinated. Guess what he found?
We're definitely looking at every single patient born in my practice. There was no cherry picking. There was no, we're going to exclude you for this or that. Every baby born was looked at, and we looked at every single office visit. We stratified them according to the number of vaccines they had.
Okay.
So basically we had over 500 who had 0 vaccines, and then we had another 3,700 and some who had some vaccines. And what we found, Del, was actually even mind-boggling for myself. What I was clearly seeing was these kids don't get sick. They don't get chronic conditions. Well, the data spoke for itself, and you're showing your viewers the graphs. Those orange lines are over time, over that 10 and a half years, the more vaccines you had, the worse you were, for whether we looked at infections, ADD, ADHD, neurodevelopmental issues, eczema, allergies. It doesn't matter what we looked at, even just plain old anemia skyrockets in the vaccinated when compared to the blue line, the unvaccinated.
Wow.
This data is so powerful.
If I had access to this information before my daughter was born, I would have made very different choices. Every parent wants the best for their child. Every parent deserves access to all the information to make an informed choice. I share this because I wish someone had shared it with me.
Yeah, she wishes someone had shared that information with her. This is information that has been withheld from parents. And RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., was recently divulging the stats that have come in with autism over the past 30 years. 30 years ago, autism was 1 out of 10,000 children. Now it's 1 out of 12. This is insanity. And they're finding out that, yes, all of these problems are being induced by this massive number of hokey-pokey thingy-dingies shooting into our kids' arms. It's all coming out, folks. And they have to, Big Pharma has to be held accountable. And it's just terrible. So I also saw, in a somewhat unrelated topic, somebody took some Red Bull, and they took a drop of Red Bull and stuck it into a microscope. And you know what they found? All kinds of wiggly squiggly things. Yeah, in Red Bull. And they're saying this is nanotechnology that's being thrown in there. And they're finding all kinds of stuff in the blood. As a matter of fact, Dr. Lee Merritt bellied up to the bar and made this statement. Here she is.
Think you're donating your blood, you're doing a good thing, and they're charitably giving it to the hospitals or something. No. They're selling it at huge profits all over the world. And then when you have children, then you can get adrenochrome. So, when you wonder, again, where are 8 million children going every year? Why do we have 63 million abortions every year in this country? They want to paint it, it's just a woman's right. Okay, but it's much deeper than that. They're protesting to have satanic ritual abortion in hospitals. That's what they want to do now. They're taking that to court. But beyond that, it's because those aborted babies are being parted out. I'm sorry to say this. I'm cover your ears if you don't want to hear it, people, but they're being parted out because they're worth a fortune on the black market.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there because when I was watching this particular video, they were showing video clips of these dismembered, aborted babies. Little tiny hands, little tiny feet. I mean, this is sickness. This is madness. And she's right when she says this is satanic. It really is. And again, I remind folks, I've been at this for many years, for decades, and a good friend of mine was Ted Gunderson. And he was trying to expose his research into the satanic cults that were growing in huge numbers across this country. And that was like 30 years ago. He was trying to expose all this. And this is a cancer of the spirit that has just permeated our entire country and indeed the entire West.
That black market goes to the NIH and other places. Don't think it doesn't. Years ago, they came out with there was a paper that was published in Medicine, and you're hearing about it now. Now they're actually overtly talking about it because I think they thought they had this all bottled up. And it was that infusing children's blood helps you be healthier if you're an older person, and helps you live longer. Now, I read that article and I thought, who the hell could do that? And how do you get informed consent of children to take their blood and do a study on these people? These people are like 30-year double-blind studies and conformed consent. How do you get a 5-year-old to give you informed consent? They've been going on, this sacrifice of children for their own longevity and for their religious beliefs has been going on for millennia.
Yes, it's been going on for millennia. She's not exaggerating, folks. We're dealing with an evil that is beyond most people's comprehension. And when you try to explain it, they just say, oh, that is a conspiracy theory. I tell you, I'm sick and tired of people saying conspiracy theory. That phrase doesn't work anymore. Yeah, it doesn't work. Like anti-Semitism, that doesn't work anymore. People are figuring all this stuff out. Getting back to this issue, I mentioned earlier, started the show off with a clip from Marjorie Taylor Greene suggesting that, we have armed guards to protect our kids, but we can't do that because we're busy sending billions of dollars overseas. Wait a second. Who's running the show here in this country? Well, you've heard yours truly say many times, and many people will agree that we are no longer the United States of America. We are the United States of Israel. As a matter of fact, one of the media influencers, Dave Smith, made the following statement. Listen to this one.
The relationship between the U.S. government and the Israeli government is so freaking bizarre that once you see it, and once a whole generation of young people see it, it's like impossible for them to unsee it. The idea that it's just accepted as normal, that the politicians for your country must worship this other country, and you're like, so what, did that other country beat us in a war and they're occupying us now? And you're like, no, you're the superpower. They're your welfare country, but yet you must go kiss their wall. You must say, Tammy Bruce from the State Department, but where she goes, we're the greatest country in the world. Well, second greatest to Israel.
Yeah, listen to this.
What?
Making things better for people, and in the greatest country on earth. Next to Israel.
That is a weird thing for any representative of your government to say.
Yeah, we are the greatest country in the world next to Israel. Whoa. Now, again, that's Representative Tammy Bruce. This has got to stop. This thing, Israel is our greatest ally. It's horse hockey. It's snake snot. It's bullcrap. If it wasn't for Israel, most of the wars that the United States have been involved with wouldn't have happened. And I got to remind you that, Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, or Milikowski, that's his real name, he wants to push for a greater Israel. Of course, he wants to take over Syria and Lebanon and a good portion of Saudi Arabia and Egypt. That's his plan. Or the, shall we say, the Israeli plan. These people are madmen. They really are. And let me see, this whole thing that happened over in the that hospital that got hit a couple days ago. Now, this was no mistake, folks. We've seen it, and I haven't seen that on any of the alphabet networks. ABC, as far as I know, I didn't see it on ABC, NBC, CBS. I've seen it on Al Jazeera. I've seen it on, was it One America News? They actually brought it up. I was surprised to see that OAN would actually carry the story. But the bottom line here is that, Israel hit the hospital on the balcony, which is where all the journalists hang out because they were getting good Wi-Fi reception so that they could get the word out. Well, Israel doesn't want the word out. So, where is it here? Where is it? Oh, here, Kim Iverson. Yeah, big mistake, she said. Yeah, Israel's been making a lot of mistakes. Listen to this one.
Just 2 days ago, Al Nasser Hospital in Gaza was hit. This was one of the last standing major hospitals. It was strategically hit on the 4th floor on a balcony. So people rushed to help to see if they're survivors. And 9 minutes later, Israel bombs that same spot again. Now, Israel claims, this was an accident, right? Netanyahu. He says, Israel deeply regrets the tragic mishap that occurred today at the Nasser Hospital in Gaza. But if it was a mistake, you don't do it twice, 9 minutes apart. That's what you don't do if it's a mistake. What was going on that 4th floor? Well, it turns out this is where journalists would go because this is where they could get Wi-Fi connection. I want to show you this. You can see all of these journalists. This is the spot. Look at all those journalists. And this is where Israel bombs. And then 9 minutes later bombs it again and says, whoops, just an accident.
I'm going to pause it there for a second. Now, I've seen this video, and it was live. This happened live on Al Jazeera. And you could see all these, the journalists up there in the balcony. And what happens is that the first strike had hit. And the journalists went up there, and they were trying to help and get the wounded out of there. And then, as they say, it hit again. It's called a double tap. You hit a target, and then when the first responders and the rescuers get in there, and the media gets in, or the journalists, and they all gather around there to help, with the injured and get the bodies out, and then they get hit again. That's no mistake.
Sorry about that. How many accidents have they had to admit to? For one, the hostages. Remember when they killed their own hostages waving a white flag and they said, oops, that was an accident. The World Central Kitchen convoy. That was another accident when they killed 7 aid workers, calling that one a grave mistake. The Rafah tent camp airstrike. Israel admits to airstrike that killed 86 people at Gaza refugee camp was a regrettable mistake. They also had the medics that were attacked. One medical group got attacked. Another one showed up to help the group that was attacked and they got attacked. And Israel said, oops, that was just an accident. How do you attack it twice and call it an accident? The Al-Mawasi strike that killed 1, injured 30, they called that technical errors. Israel says deadly Gaza church strike was a mistake after Trump call. IDF blames error for Gaza strike that killed children collecting water. Israel fired warning shot at EU, China diplomats by mistake. Whoops. Israel says military shot dead U.S. Turkish woman by mistake. By mistake, Israel admits to publishing false photos of Hamas leaders arrested in Al-Shaifa. Israel admits killing 5 of its own young soldiers by mistake. A mistake. Israel targets Palestinians on bike, claiming it's an RPG. Never in the history of any war have we seen so many tragic mishaps. This is no mistake. I think we all understand it's not a mistake. It's a genocide of the Palestinian people.
It is a genocide of the Palestinian people. And then last week, and I covered this issue, there was a video of a little girl, couldn't have been more than maybe 8 or 9 years old, and she was carrying a water jug, and she got droned. That's a mistake. This is insanity. And anyone out there who continues to support Israel, and again, all of the elected officials out there, if you're supporting Israel, if you're taking money from AIPAC, everybody is now aware of it. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. So if you continue to support Israel with all this horrendous activity, and the people are now noticing, they're realizing that Netanyahu is in competition with the reputation of Adolf Hitler. And not only that, but now people are starting to look at these people who are, again, I point out, they are the fake Jews. They're not the real Jews. These are the Talmudic Jews. And they're imposters. They don't represent the Old Testament Jews. They don't represent the Torah. These people are imposters, and that's, of course, in the Bible. And they are liars. They are absolute liars. So the point is, though, is that now you start to take a look here at what Hitler was trying to defend Germany against and say, wait a second, maybe, just maybe, he had some legitimate grievances with the influence of these fake Jews who had infiltrated Germany and were perverting everything. They'd taken over the banks. I remember back in the 20s and 30s, come to the cabaret, old chum. Yeah, Berlin had become a den of iniquity. And that's where transgender surgery was being developed. And this is why Hitler was losing his cookies over this. So in that particular sense, people are taking a look and say, wait a second, maybe Hitler had a legitimate gripe against these fake Jews who have taken over Israel. And again, the real Jews that are out there, I implore you, I am not an anti-Semite. I don't hate Jews. Now, there are some people that do. I don't. But I do realize that there's a large contingency who call themselves Jews, and they're giving all the good Jews a bad name. And unless the good Jews, and there's a lot of them that are standing up now, and they're saying, Israel, not in our name. No, we don't want this happening in our name, because it is a genocide. Absolutely. And there is, overwhelmingly, almost every country on this planet recognizes it as a genocide. There's only a handful of countries of the West that refuse to even use the word genocide to describe what's going on over there. And of course, Israel has done everything that they can to get all the journalists out of there. They don't want any journalists in there to record what the heck is happening. And the few that stay behind, you just heard from Kim Iverson, and we've seen it on the television. We saw it live on Al Jazeera. They are killing the journalists. They don't want to have any reports about what's going on because Netanyahu's saying, there's a final push to take out Gaza, to take over Gaza. And they've got tanks, and I think the number was 60,000 troops or something crazy like that they're getting ready to go in there and, quote, finish the job. This is madness. This is absolute madness. Okay, well, gosh, look at the time. We're almost flat out of time here. I had a couple of other things I was going to get to, but I implore everybody out there who's listening, please get the word out. Please get folks to understand that these buzzwords, like I mentioned a little while ago, conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy theorist is simply someone who has critical thinking skills and challenges the narrative. And when the narrative doesn't want to be challenged or questioned, then they call you a conspiracy theorist. What is it? Who was it that said, if you want to know who's in control, take notice of who you're not allowed to criticize? And there's a lot of truth in that, folks. A lot of truth in that. So anyway, the point is that the term conspiracy theorist doesn't work anymore. And now they're trying to use anti-Semite. They're trying to label everybody or anybody who dares to criticize Israel as an anti-Semite because you hate them. But it's not. It's the Palestinians who are the Semites. And it's the Israelis who are the anti-Semites. It's upside down. It's backwards. But you know what? More and more people are seeing it. And as more and more people recognize what's going on, we then turn your head and you look at your Congress and your Senate and how much money is being paid to them because you're being lied to. Again, it's bribery, coercion, and blackmail. And I guess that contingency of Democrats is just now getting back to the United States after being wined and dined by Israel. All right, boy, the time goes by when you're having a fun time, right? All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's Thursday edition of the WTF Reports. If you're listening on BitChute or on YouTube or on Rumble or any other platform, please remember to click like, share, and subscribe and get the word of mouth out. Yeah, I'm standing here screaming from the rooftops, hoping that somebody out there will pay attention and get straightened out because we've been screwed up by the mainstream media for so long. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. I thank you for your listenership. I'm Dave vonKleist. These are the WTF Reports, and I thank you for your listenership. So until tomorrow, stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you all.